So yeah, I've decided to not spray paint the Hungarian Olympic Rings. The reason why is because the paint will actually add just a little bit of thickness to the plastic. It will add just a little bit of thickness to the inside of these tracks, which will mean that the balls may not move as smoothly. They may actually turn really horribly. So what I've decided to do is to use hydrogen peroxide instead, to basically remove the yellowing from the plastic. It's what people use for, you know, yellowed consoles and computers and stuff. So this is what I'm going to use. It's called Bblonde, and you can just use this straight out of the bottle. You don't need to mix anything at all. It needs to be 40 volume and 12% peroxide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to the puzzle and then leave the puzzle outside in the sunlight for at least a few hours until the plastic is returned back to its original colour. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about these faded balls. I've noticed that if I wet my finger and then rub it onto one of the balls, it brings the colour back and it looks shiny again, like, you know, like how it would have done when it was new. So I was thinking that I could use some, maybe if I use some kind of clear lacquer like spray paint, it may have the same effect on the balls but permanent. But again, it's going to add just a little bit of thickness to the balls, so they may not actually move around that easily. And if they don't, I don't really think there's going to be any way of me being able to remove the lacquer that I've sprayed onto them. So I'm not really sure what to do yet about the balls. But I know as for the yellowed plastic, I'll definitely use some hydrogen peroxide to get rid of the yellowing. So what I'm going to do first is try to take this apart, try and take the shell apart so I can remove the balls. I've been told that there's like little kind of V-shaped holes on the inside of the tracks, and all I need to do is to just stick in a really small screwdriver to pry the puzzle apart. So let's see if I can spot one of those V-shaped holes. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but there is one of the V-shaped holes. There's quite a few of them actually. You can see one there as well. So let's try and pry this apart. I'm a bit worried about breaking the plastic. Okay, so I've actually managed to pry the plastic apart just a little bit there. So worried about actually breaking the plastic. You can see there's like little pegs on the plastic there. I mean, this is really old plastic, so it's probably going to be a lot more brittle than what it would have been. Okay, so I've gone all the way around the puzzle now and prized it apart, but it's still attached by these bits. So let's try and pry them open. There goes the ball. Oops. Oh, I think that was just the plastic coming apart. It kind of sounded as though part of the plastic had snapped then. So well, let's try and get some of these balls into the Ziploc bag. I'm finding this last bit to be really difficult to take apart. It's basically this bit I'm struggling with. So at last I've managed to pry open this last bit. I had to use a lot of force. I was really worried that I was going to just break the plastic, but luckily it didn't break. So there you have it, it's now in two halves. So you can see some white on it. I think that's where glue was used, unless that's the original colour of the plastic, but it kind of looks as though it was glue or something. So you can see all the holes as well that the little pegs fit into, and here are all the little pegs. So before I use any hydrogen peroxide, what I'm going to do is to just make sure that these are properly clean. So I've got some hot water, hot soapy water, and I'm going to use a toothbrush to clean them. It's just to get any muck and grease off it that might be on it, because that can affect the whitening process. I think someone on the Twisted Puzzles forum said that it can leave it looking streaky. Okay, so both of the halves have now been cleaned. What I've done is I've rinsed the soapy water off them with just normal water, and now I'm going to dry them. I'm not sure if it matters if they are still a bit wet when I apply the hydrogen peroxide, but I'm just gonna dry them with a towel just to be on the safe side. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to apply the hydrogen peroxide. This is Bblonde. You can just use it straight from the bottle. It's 40 volume and 12% peroxide.
bit hard doing this from behind the camera. It's a shame that the sun has gone away now, but hopefully normal sunlight will be enough, and the sun might come back out anyway. So I do need to make sure that this is properly covered. Otherwise, if it isn't, it's going to kind of end up looking patchy.
Okay, so I've fully covered this with Bblonde. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap it in cling film. The reason for that is because the cling film will stop it from drying out as quickly. I've heard that the last thing you want is for the hydrogen peroxide to dry. I think people have said that it will cause the plastic to kind of look patchy and streaky, and I think I've heard that it's very difficult. The hydrogen peroxide is very difficult to remove once it's dried. Okay, so unfortunately the sun has gone away now. The sky is quite grey and cloudy, so I think it might actually rain. It's a shame because just before I did this, it was really bright and sunny outside. So what I'll have to do is to just leave these here on the windowsill, and if the sun does come out again, I can put them outside. Okay, so the sun did come back out again, and I left these in the very bright sunlight for about 5 hours, and they've really improved now. They still do look very slightly yellow. I'm not sure how they're going to look on video, but they do look much better than how they looked in the first place. You might be able to tell that they are a slight yellow if I put this white piece of paper behind them. So they're basically kind of a cream colour, I suppose, and in certain small areas on both of these pieces, the yellowing is more darker than the rest of the surface, if you know what I mean. Like in some of these corners, the yellowing is quite dark, and on this piece, along the edge, going all the way around it, it's quite yellow. Okay, the camera's not focusing on it, so I'll put this piece of paper behind it, and hopefully that will help the camera to focus. So yeah, so going along the edge all the way around, the yellowing is more darker than the rest of the plastic for some reason, which is quite strange. So I did give these a second application of Bblonde, and I left them in the bright sun for another 5 hours, but I'm not even sure if it's made any difference. If it has, then the difference is so small that I can't really tell. So I'm not going to bother with applying any more Bblonde to them and leaving them in the sunlight, because to be honest, if they can improve further by repeated applications of Bblonde and being left in the sunlight, it's probably going to take many times until they get properly white, and I just can't be bothered with doing that. Plus I've heard that when you put hydrogen peroxide onto plastic, it makes it go more brittle, so obviously the more times you do that, the more brittle the plastic is going to get. I'm not sure how true that is, but I don't really want to take the risk. I mean, this plastic, it is quite thin and it already seems kind of brittle. So I mean, I think it looks good enough. It looks much better than how it used to look. As for the balls, I had the idea of using some car wax on them, because the balls do look faded. So I've put some car wax onto this one, and it doesn't look faded anymore. You can see the difference between the two of them. So when looking through the viewfinder, there doesn't seem to be much difference, but in real life there is quite a lot of difference. This is the faded one, and this is the one that's been car waxed. So I just rubbed a little bit of turtle wax on it, let it dry, and then I wiped it off with a microfiber cloth. And yeah, I'm not sure how long it will stay like this for, but I waxed it about 3 days ago now, and it's still, you know, it still looks the same. It's not returned back to like a faded colour. So I'm going to do the rest of the balls. Let's try a red one. Camera's focusing on the background again. Just a really tiny bit. Balls fell off the table. I'll get another one. Just try and get this camera to focus. That's better. So just rub the wax into the ball. Just let it dry for a few seconds, probably won't take that long. So what gave me the idea for using the car wax is because I noticed if I wet my finger and rubbed it onto one of the faded balls, the fading would go away, you know. Like if I rubbed a wet finger onto this black ball, it would end up looking more black and kind of a little bit more glossy. But as soon as the wetness dried, it would just return back to a grey colour again. So I thought, I had the idea that maybe polish would have the same effect as wetting the ball, only it would be more permanent. And at first I thought of furniture polish, and then I thought of the car polish, the car wax, and the car wax sounded better, so I tried it out and it's worked. So this is probably dry now. Let's buff it. Yeah, I think that's looking better. Let's get another red one to compare it. Yeah, I mean the difference isn't really big, but you should be able to see that's the one I've put car wax on, and you can see it's a more deeper red colour now, and it looks a little bit more shiny, whereas this is still kind of faded. It's got like, it looks like it's got a white film all over it. So yeah, I'll wax the rest of these balls, and then I'll put them back into the puzzle. Okay, so all of the balls have now been polished or waxed, and I've printed out a picture of the Olympic rings just so I know how they're supposed to look. So let's start putting the balls back into the puzzle. Okay, so that's all of the balls in the puzzle. Let's snap the front of the puzzle back on. So it's not snapping back onto the puzzle for some reason, so what I'll do is I'll just use a little bit of glue. Okay, so hopefully this should work. I'll just apply some pressure. So I've been applying pressure for 30 seconds and now it does seem to be properly stuck together. Okay, so the Olympic Hungarian rings have now been restored and I think they've turned out really well. They look so much better than how they looked when I first got them. I think it was because of how they looked when I first got them. That's why I managed to get them for around half the price that they usually go for. So yeah, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to give this a scramble. The balls on this do move so much more easily than how they move on the original Hungarian rings. So scrambling this thoroughly does take a really long time, but I think you could call this properly scrambled now. So yeah, so that is a scrambled Hungarian Olympic rings. Thanks for watching.